Hello everybody, my name is Austin Jackson and I am here to teach you guys today how to get better compositions by using focal length blending. It's a really cool technique and concept. I'm going to show you guys how to briefly use it. I'm going to explain how to shoot it in the field just really briefly, and then I'm mostly going to show you a lot about the post-processing aspect and how you should do it. Now, I know there might be some of you guys out there who are wondering if this concept requires taking two images and combining them in Photoshop. That is exactly what it does. So for those of you who believe just taking one shot, get it all in one shot, this technique is unfortunately not for you. But for the rest of you guys, this is a really cool technique to make your compositions a little bit better. If you've ever been out in the field and noticed that maybe that mountain doesn't look quite as big on my photo as it does out here in person, it's probably because you're using a wide angle lens. And so we are going to use focal length blending to kind of correct that, make it a little more interesting, and make it feel a little bit more like how it feels when you're out in the field. The problem with using a wide angle lens is there's distortion on that lens, meaning that things at the center of your frame are going to appear smaller and less tall in the distance, and things on the edges of the frame are going to be stretched out. If you don't believe me, grab your wide angle lens, go outside, aim it at a mountain, and look at how much taller the mountain looks if it's at the top of the frame versus in the middle of the frame. Either way, I want to show you guys how to do this really cool technique of focal length blending. We're going to jump right in. I'm going to be in Lightroom first, and then we're going to transfer over to Photoshop. Let's go ahead and jump right into Lightroom. Okay guys, so you can see here we've got, this is our original image and this is the focal length blend that we are going to combine. So the difference is very small. You can see that this photo was shot at 28 millimeters. This one is shot at 17 millimeters. Now this one is not bad, but the mountains are a little bit boring. I remember I was so much closer to the mountains, they appeared a lot bigger, and this sunrise over the mountains was a lot better. In person, it just looked way cooler because these mountains were so much bigger. So I decided in the field, I was just gonna take the same photo, just zoom in to the mountains, and you might be wondering why the mountains are at the bottom of the frame and why I didn't put them at the top like I did in this image. And the reason is because essentially I'm just gonna be overlaying these mountains over the wide angle image, and I'm just gonna be using like the mountains and up. So I wanted to capture as much sky as possible because I'm not sure how the final crop is gonna work out. So that is why I did that. So I'm gonna show you guys how to combine these two. Now I've already applied some edits. What I would recommend doing is grabbing your wide angle shot and putting the edits on the wide angle shot first. You can see I've done all these edits here in Lightroom. And once you're done doing those edits, you can actually hit Command C to copy. Just make sure everything is selected here. The crop doesn't matter, or neither does the masking unless you did masking. I'm gonna hit copy, and then I'm going to click on my other image. I'm going to hit Command V and paste. This way we've got the same settings applied. Now you don't have to do any editing first. I just like to do some editing because otherwise we would have our base image is like this, really, really dark. So I just like to have some edits so it's a little easier to work with. Now once you're done, you're going to select both images. I'm going to Command click or Shift click, and we are going to go over to Photo. We're going to go down to Edit In, and we are going to open as layers in Photoshop. Okay guys, so once this loads into Photoshop here, you can name the layers if you like. You can just double click on them. I've named them BG for background and FG for foreground. As you can see, the background layer is the layer with the mountains, and the foreground layer is the layer with our foreground mud cracks. So now what I usually like to do here is lower the opacity on the background layer to like 60% or so, and then hit Command T on a Mac or Control T on a PC. Then that allows you to drag this up to line it up. Now, when you're doing this, it's important to make it look seamless. The way that I'm going to make this look really seamless is by using the kind of brown brush in the background to blend this in. I'm going to show you guys right here. When I hit enter, I'm going to bring the opacity back up really quickly, and I am just going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm kind of going to use this area right in here. It's far away, it's not highly detailed. It's going to be really easy to make a seamless blend to blend it together. So one thing that I'm already noticing though is once I blend this together, it's obviously not blended yet because you can see that the background image and the foreground image don't match up very well, but there's not enough sky in my frame anymore because I'm adding these much larger mountains. So what I want to do actually is grab this foreground image, hit Command T on a Mac, Control T on a PC. I just want to drag this down a little bit to buy us a little bit more room for the sky. I'm going to hit enter and let that load out. Now I'm going to go back and unhide this background layer. I'm going to bring it back down to like 60%, and I'm going to move it again right into place. Right about there looks good to me. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to bring the opacity up. Now, before I start trying to blend this in, I want to make sure these images match really well. One thing I'm noticing is that this image is a little too bright. You can see that the foreground mud cracks here in our background image are a lot brighter than the ones in our foreground image. So we're just going to go ahead and grab a brightness contrast layer here. I'm going to hit this button to apply it to just the BG layer, not the FG layer. And I'm just going to bring the darkness down until it matches pretty good. Right about there, it looks good to me. Now, if you're thinking that we're done, we are not quite done. Even though it does look pretty good, the blend is relatively seamless, but if you look closely, you can still see it is messed up in here. So what I'm going to do now is click on this layer. I'm going to add a layer mask, and we are going to paint with black on the layer mask. Remember that black hides anything that's on the layer that the layer mask is tied to. So I want to adjust my brush settings. I like about 70% on the brush hardness, and then the size will just depend on the image that you're working with. Make sure you have black, and then you can go in and click and paint. And I'm just going to remove this stuff quickly, and then I will zoom in using Command plus to make a little more fine-tuned adjustment. Now I kind of want to leave this brown stuff in on the background image. So we'll just go in here and paint this all the way across. Make it look as seamless as possible here. Okay, and that's looking pretty good now. You can see that we've blended this on the edge, which makes it look really seamless. Toggle that on and off, and if you did not just watch this YouTube video, you probably would not know that this was a focal length blend. It's as easy as that, guys. So the next thing that I would do if I was going to edit this image is either at this point, just hit Command S or Control S on a PC, save it. It will load right back into Lightroom for you. You can do some more edits there. Or if you were going to edit in Photoshop, do Command Alt Option Shift and E. That's Control Alt Option Shift and E on a PC. You've got a new layer here. You can just call this base, and now this is your bottom layer here. You can work with it. You can use whatever you'd like to edit it in Photoshop. Just easy like that. Alrighty guys, hopefully this short and sweet video made sense for you, and it'll help you guys to bring your compositions to the next level. Focal length blending is a concept that so many professional photographers are using. I would encourage you to use it responsibly, make things look realistic. Don't try and blend two things that are too far apart in focal length. For example, an 11mm foreground and a 70mm mountain just are not going to blend too well. I like to keep things pretty close in focal length, but it does help to just make those background objects just a little bit larger when you're dealing with some wide angle distortion. If you guys have any questions about the shooting or editing aspect of this, please feel free to drop a question down below. And of course, I always appreciate you guys liking and subscribing. It helps me continue to make free videos in the future. Thank you guys so much for checking out this weekend's video, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.